Let me ask you something. Why do people clap for your dreams, but disappear when it's time to work? Why does your energy drop the moment you announce your next move? Here's the truth nobody tells you: the loudest person in the room is usually the weakest one. And in 2026, you don't need applause. You need results. Silence is not weakness. Silence is not fear. Silence is not a lack of ambition. Silence is positioning. In a world where everyone feels the need to broadcast every idea, every goal, every step, choosing not to speak becomes a strategic advantage. When you announce your plans too early, you expose something fragile to a world that may not handle it carefully. Dreams in their early stages are delicate. They require protection, nurturing, and focused energy. When you keep your plans to yourself, you give them space to grow without interference. You allow your vision to develop strength before it faces scrutiny. Silence becomes your shield. It keeps distractions away and allows clarity to take root. When you talk about your goals, something subtle happens in your brain. You receive validation before you've earned it. People say, "That's amazing." They tell you, "You're going to do great." And for a moment, it feels like progress. But it isn't progress, it's applause. Applause can be addictive. It can trick you into believing you've already moved forward when you've only spoken words. Silence protects you from that illusion. When no one knows your plan, the only satisfaction you can receive comes from actual work. You replace empty praise with real progress. Instead of feeding your ego, you feed your discipline. And discipline, unlike applause, compounds over time. Silence also sharpens focus. Every time you explain your vision, you open the door to opinions. Some opinions come disguised as advice. Some come wrapped in concern. Others are blunt and dismissive. Even when you think you are unaffected, those words settle somewhere in your mind. They create doubt. They plant hesitation. They shift your confidence slightly off center. But when you move in silence, you eliminate unnecessary noise. Your mind stays clear. Your direction stays firm. You don't have to defend your dream. You don't have to justify your timeline. You don't have to convince anyone of your capability. Your energy stays concentrated on execution, not explanation. There is also power in unpredictability. When people know your every move, they can measure you before you arrive. They create expectations. They form judgments. They prepare opinions. But when you move quietly, your growth becomes unexpected. Your success becomes undeniable. There is strength in showing up transformed without warning. Silence allows you to build momentum without pressure. No one is watching the early mistakes. No one is counting your setbacks. You are free to fail privately and improve privately. That privacy gives you resilience. It gives you room to experiment, adjust, and refine your strategy without external pressure shaping your pace. Silence builds internal confidence. When you stop seeking validation from others, you are forced to validate yourself. You begin to trust your instincts. You begin to rely on your own standards instead of public approval. That shift is powerful. It transforms you from someone who performs for attention into someone who performs for excellence. When your motivation comes from within, it becomes stable. External praise rises and falls, but internal conviction remains steady. Silence strengthens that conviction. It teaches you to measure progress by effort, not by recognition. It reminds you that the work matters more than the announcement. Finally, silence preserves energy. Every conversation about your plans costs something. It costs time. It costs mental effort. It costs emotional energy. Explaining your goals repeatedly drains enthusiasm that could have been invested into action. When you choose silence, you conserve that energy. You redirect it toward learning, practicing, building, and improving. You become intentional with your words, because you understand their value. You speak less and execute more. Over time, that consistency creates visible results. And when those results finally appear, they carry weight because they are backed by quiet effort, focused discipline, and unwavering strategy. Silence, in that sense, is not the absence of movement. It is controlled, concentrated power moving beneath the surface, preparing for undeniable impact. Your vision is not just an idea. It is not just a goal written in a notebook. It is a living thing inside you. It carries your ambition, your belief, your future identity. And anything that valuable must be protected. Not everyone deserves access to it. Not everyone is qualified to speak on it. The mistake many people make is assuming that because something excites them, it should excite everyone else. But vision is personal. It was given to you for a reason. When you expose it too early, you risk letting outside voices shape something that hasn't fully formed yet. Protection is not secrecy out of fear. It is discipline out of wisdom. Every powerful idea begins fragile. In the beginning, it doesn't look impressive. It doesn't have proof. It doesn't have results. It only has belief. And belief can be shaken if it is constantly challenged. When you share your vision with people who think small, they will measure it with small standards. They will project their limits onto your potential. They will call it unrealistic because they cannot see it. They will call it risky because they would never take that step. And if you are not careful, their doubt will begin to echo louder than your conviction. Protecting your vision means limiting exposure to negativity before your confidence becomes unshakable. There is also jealousy that hides behind smiles. Not everyone who congratulates you is rooting for you. Some people clap quietly while hoping you stumble. Some listen carefully not to support you, but to compare themselves to you. Energy matters. Environments matter. When you constantly share your plans in rooms filled with competition and insecurity, you absorb tension without realizing it. Protecting your vision means being selective about your circle. It means understanding that access to your goals is earned, not given freely. A strong support system adds fuel. The wrong audience drains it. Protection also requires patience. Sometimes we talk about our goals because we are excited. We want someone to understand the fire inside us. But not everyone will understand it, and that is okay. Your vision does not need universal approval to be valid. It only needs consistent action. When you protect it, you allow it to grow quietly. Just like a foundation of a building is laid underground before the structure rises, your vision needs unseen work before public recognition. If you rush to show it before it is stable, you risk collapse under pressure. Patience ensures that when your success becomes visible, it is strong enough to withstand attention. Another part of protecting your vision is protecting your focus. Once you share your plan, people will start asking for updates. How is it going? Did you start yet? What happened with that idea? Those questions may seem harmless, but they create pressure. Pressure shifts your timeline. It makes you feel rushed. It tempts you to perform progress instead of actually making progress. When you move quietly, you remove unnecessary deadlines created by other people's curiosity. You control the pace. You decide when to reveal results. That control keeps you aligned with your purpose instead of reacting to external expectations. Finally, protecting your vision is an act of self-respect. It means you recognize the value of what you are building. You understand that not everything needs to be shared. In a world driven by oversharing, restraint becomes strength. You don't owe anyone constant updates about your growth. You don't need permission to pursue your ambition. When you protect your vision, you send a message to yourself, this matters. And when something matters, you treat it carefully. You nurture it. You guard it. You feed it with effort and starve it of doubt. Because when the time finally comes to reveal what you have built, it won't be an idea anymore. It will be evidence. There is a difference between saying and doing. Saying feels powerful in the moment. Doing builds power over time. When you announce your goals, you create noise. When you take action, you create results. And results will always outlast noise. Too many people fall in love with the sound of their own ambition. They enjoy describing the future more than building it. They rehearse success in conversations instead of earning it through effort. But 2026 is not the year for speeches about what you're going to do. It's the year for disciplined execution. Quiet steps, consistent work, real movement. Announcements create temporary identity. The moment you tell people you're starting a business, writing a book, transforming your body, or changing your life, you feel different. You feel upgraded, but that feeling is borrowed. It is not backed by proof. It is a projection of who you intend to become, not who you are yet. Action, on the other hand, reshapes you from the inside out. Every early morning, every repetition, every late night refining your craft, those moments build identity through evidence. You don't have to say you're becoming disciplined. Your routine proves it. You don't have to say you're focused. Your results show it. When you prioritize action over announcement, you eliminate performance. You stop trying to look productive and start being productive. There is a subtle trap in constantly updating others on your journey. You begin to measure your growth by reactions, likes, comments, encouragement. But growth is not measured by applause, it is measured by progress. The hours nobody sees matter more than the posts everyone reacts to. Real advancement happens in the uncomfortable, repetitive, unseen moments. And those moments lose power when they are constantly interrupted by the need to report them. Action also builds momentum in a way announcements never can. Words can inspire you briefly, but execution builds rhythm. Once you begin moving consistently, your confidence rises naturally. You don't need to hype yourself up because your work becomes your motivation. Progress fuels progress. The small wins stack up. Skills sharpen. Habits strengthen. Announcements create pressure. Action creates stability. And stability is what allows long-term success to grow. When you focus on doing instead of declaring, you remove unnecessary pressure and replace it with steady advancement. There is also a level of respect that comes with results earned in silence. When you suddenly improve, when you suddenly level up, when you suddenly accomplish something people didn't expect, it carries weight. It speaks without introduction. It demands attention without asking for it. That kind of presence cannot be manufactured through talk. It is built through consistent action. The strongest statement you can make is not, "Watch what I'm about to do." The strongest statement is simply doing it. Let people witness the outcome, not the outline. Choosing action over announcement requires humility. It requires patience. It requires the willingness to work without recognition. But that is where transformation lies, not in the spotlight, in the process. When you stop announcing your intentions, you remove distractions. You free up energy. You focus on mastery instead of marketing your potential. And over time, your quiet consistency creates undeniable proof. You won't need to remind anyone what you said you were going to do. They will see what you've done. Energy is currency. Every dream you build, every goal you chase, every habit you try to master requires energy, mental energy, emotional energy, physical energy. And most people don't fail because they lack talent. They fail because their energy is scattered, leaking, drained by conversations, opinions, drama, and unnecessary explanations. When you tell everyone your plans, you unknowingly open doors that allow your energy to escape. And once your energy drops, your discipline weakens. Protecting your ambition in 2026 means identifying and eliminating energy leaks before they sabotage your momentum. One of the biggest energy leaks is negativity disguised as realism. You share your vision, and someone responds with doubt masked as concern. That's hard. Are you sure? What if it doesn't work? They may not mean harm, but their words carry weight. Now, instead of focusing on execution, your mind begins defending the idea. You start overthinking. You start preparing explanations. You start imagining worst-case scenarios. That mental shift drains focus. Instead of building forward, you are managing doubt. Silence protects you from absorbing unnecessary fear. It keeps your emotional fuel intact. Another energy leak is comparison. The moment you announce your goals, people begin measuring you. They compare you to someone who did it faster, someone who failed at it, someone who succeeded differently. And even if they don't say it directly, the comparison exists in the atmosphere. You feel it. And when you feel it, you begin to measure yourself against timelines and standards that were never meant for you. Comparison fractures confidence. It shifts your attention from personal growth to external validation. But when you move quietly, you move at your own pace. You compete with yesterday's version of yourself, not someone else's highlight reel. Gossip and unnecessary discussion are also silent drains. When people know your plans, you become a topic of conversation. Some conversations will support you. Others will question you. Some will twist your intentions. And while you may not hear every word spoken, you will sense shifts in energy around you. That awareness alone consumes focus. It pulls your mind away from strategy and toward social dynamics. Avoiding energy leaks means reducing access. Fewer people knowing means fewer opinions circulating. Fewer opinions mean fewer distractions. And fewer distractions mean stronger concentration. There is also the leak of over-explanation. When you constantly talk about what you are building, you feel the need to justify it. You explain why you chose this path. You explain why you left something else. You explain why it matters to you. Over time, that explaining becomes exhausting. Your dream starts to feel like something you have to defend instead of something you are excited to pursue. Silence removes the burden of justification. You don't owe the world a detailed presentation of your ambition. Your only responsibility is execution. Finally, energy leaks through emotional reactions. When people doubt you, criticize you, or underestimate you, it can trigger frustration. And frustration is expensive. It steals clarity. It interrupts rhythm. It tempts you to prove something instead of build something. But when you keep your plans private, you reduce the number of emotional triggers in your environment. You stay calm, focused, grounded. Your energy remains directed toward growth instead of reaction. In 2026, protecting your energy is non-negotiable because once you learn to seal the leaks, your progress accelerates, your focus sharpens, and your quiet grind becomes unstoppable. We live in a world addicted to quick rewards, notifications, compliments, instant reactions. Every time you announce a new goal, you get a surge of excitement. People respond. They praise your ambition. They tell you how inspiring you are. And in that moment, your brain releases dopamine, the chemical that makes you feel accomplished. But here's the danger. You haven't accomplished anything yet. You've only described what you plan to do. That small emotional high can trick you into feeling satisfied before the real work even begins. Choosing discipline over dopamine means refusing to let temporary feelings replace long-term results. Dopamine is easy. Discipline is earned. Dopamine shows up when you talk. Discipline shows up when you act, especially when you don't feel like it, when the alarm rings early, when motivation is low, when progress feels slow. Discipline is what carries you through those moments. It doesn't rely on excitement. It relies on commitment. When you stop announcing your plans, you remove one of the easiest sources of artificial reward. There's no applause to fuel you, no early validation to comfort you. Just you and the work. And that's where real strength develops. The problem with chasing dopamine is that it creates inconsistency. You begin to seek feelings instead of progress. If something doesn't feel exciting, you abandon it. If the journey becomes repetitive, you look for a new goal to announce. You start projects with passion and leave them when attention fades. But discipline thrives in repetition. It understands that mastery is boring before it becomes impressive. It knows that growth happens in routines, not in bursts of hype. By keeping your plans private, you train yourself to work without the need for constant emotional stimulation. There is also maturity in choosing discipline. It means you understand that success is not built on how you feel. It is built on what you do consistently. Feelings fluctuate. Some days you will feel unstoppable. Other days you will feel uncertain. If you depend on excitement to move forward, your progress will rise and fall with your emotions. But discipline creates stability. It shows up regardless of mood. It respects structure. It honors time. And over months, that steady consistency outperforms bursts of motivation every single time. When you silence the need for dopamine, you begin to appreciate delayed gratification. You start finding satisfaction in small improvements instead of public reactions. A better routine, a stronger skill, a deeper focus. These quiet wins replace loud applause. You become proud of effort, not exposure. And that shift transforms your mindset. Instead of asking, who noticed? You ask, did I improve? That question builds character. It builds resilience. It builds an identity rooted in work ethic rather than attention. Choosing discipline over dopamine in 2026 is a decision to value substance over spectacle. It means understanding that the loud celebration comes after the quiet grind, not before it. It means trading temporary emotional highs for lasting achievement. When you stop feeding off early praise, you strengthen your ability to endure the long process. And endurance is what separates intention from accomplishment. The world may reward noise instantly, but it respects results permanently. Discipline ensures you reach the kind of success that doesn't fade when the applause stops. There is a different kind of power in a person who doesn't have to talk about what they're doing. A calm confidence, a steady presence, no need for constant updates, no need for reminders, just progress. When you let results speak, you remove the pressure to prove yourself through words. You allow your growth to become visible evidence. And evidence is undeniable. It doesn't argue. It doesn't debate. It simply stands there and commands respect. Talking creates expectations. Results create impact. When you announce your plans, people start forming timelines in their minds. They start watching, measuring, evaluating. And whether they say it out loud or not, they begin to judge your pace. That pressure can distort your focus. Instead of improving at your natural rhythm, you rush to meet external expectations. But when you move quietly, there is no scoreboard hanging over your head. You are free to refine your craft without commentary, free to grow without spectators. And when you finally reveal the outcome, it feels complete, not forced. Results also eliminate the need for explanation. You don't have to convince anyone that you've changed when the change is visible. You don't have to argue about your discipline when your consistency is obvious. You don't have to defend your ambition when your accomplishments speak clearly. Words can be questioned. Promises can be doubted. But results carry weight. They silence critics without confrontation. They answer skepticism without emotion, and they shift conversations from "can you" to "how did you." There is something unforgettable about quiet transformation. When someone disappears into focus and returns improved, elevated, sharpened, it leaves an impression. Not because they talked about it, but because they built it. That kind of growth feels authentic. It feels earned. It feels powerful. And people respond differently to earned success than they do to announced ambition. Announced ambition invites opinions. Earned success commands respect. Letting results speak also builds inner strength. You begin to detach from the need to be seen in every stage of your journey. You stop seeking acknowledgement for effort. You trust that if you stay consistent, the outcome will eventually reveal itself. That trust strengthens patience. It strengthens resilience. You learn to endure the quiet seasons, the times when nobody notices the sacrifice. And in those seasons, your character deepens. Your work ethic solidifies. Your identity strengthens. In 2026, the strongest move you can make is to reduce your words and increase your work. Not because silence is mysterious, not because secrecy is dramatic, but because substance outlasts sound. When your results speak, they tell a story of discipline, focus, and restraint. They show that you valued execution over attention. And when the time comes for the world to see what you've built, you won't need a long introduction. The proof will already be standing in front of them. So in 2026, move with intention. Not every thought needs a microphone. Not every goal needs an audience. Not every dream needs approval. Build quietly. Grow privately. Elevate silently. Let them wonder why you've been quiet. Let them question your absence. Let them underestimate your silence. Because when preparation meets opportunity, when discipline meets time, when effort meets consistency, you won't have to say a word. Your presence will speak. Your results will echo. Your transformation will explain everything. And when they finally ask, when did this happen? You'll know the truth. It happened in the silence.